Over 70 years ago, a sport began. On the 13th of May 1950, at the Silverstone racetrack in England, a man stood and watched this new form of motor racing. He was stunned, astounded as he watched these new cars roar past him, and he had a dream to tell the world of his fascination and share with them the excitement of F1. This man was Timothy Speed, and he would go on to become the world's greatest motorsport reporter.
Banjo in front, and it looks like it could be. Yes, it could be Sheringham in the back there, and it's looking like it's going to be yet another win for the Alfa Romeo team here at Silverstone for the second year running now. And it is Nina Fagato who takes the win here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast today.
70 years later, his grandson, Tim Speed, takes up the reins. With a similar dream and with the new age of streaming and podcasts, he too is committed to delivering high quality reports and broadcasts to the fans of F1. Hello everybody, my name is Tim Speed and you're very welcome back to F1TV ÉIRE. And it's a brilliant start from pretty much everybody. It's a great start from Max Verstappen, it's a great start from Lewis. Oh, but it's a brilliant start from Lando Norris, who's into third! He's into third, can he make the first corner? Oh, Bottas is into the back of him, oh, and they're into a Red Bull too! Oh, it's a dreadful mistake there from Valtteri Bottas at the beginning of the Hungarian Grand Prix here, folks. Listen for free now on Spotify at the F1TV ÉIRE podcast. Hello everybody, and you're very welcome back to the show again, yet again. Just one moment. Yes, it is myself, Tim Speed, back on the podcast again. And I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining me again. If you are joining me, of course, this is the F1TV ÉIRE podcast, available on Spotify. I put this one up on YouTube as well because I wanted to do that, and I hope if you're on YouTube, if you come across this on YouTube, you might check out the earlier podcasts and you might stick around for the up and coming podcast. Of course, I streamed the race on Sunday there at Belgium, or sorry, not at Belgium, at Zandvoort. Streamed the race on F1TV ÉIRE on YouTube. If you're not from Ireland, if you don't know what ÉIRE means, ÉIRE is just Ireland in kind of a way Irish people call it sometimes, kind of an old name. And this is my channel. This is our channel here at F1TV ÉIRE. My name is Tim Speed, F1 news reporter and budding podcaster. And it's great to have you here, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us here today on the show. How was your Sunday? As I said there, we streamed it on YouTube at F1TV ÉIRE, and it was a great success overall. It tired me out, I have to say. I was wrecked during it, and I was wrecked after. Of course, in F1, the style of commentary usually is to keep talking all the time, and you have brief breaks, I suppose, where you would listen to the car sounds or whatever, or somebody will be saying something that you're going to listen to. But I'll work on that, obviously. Have to find my style, as they say. Have to find your voice for stuff like that. So the next race is this weekend. We have a triple header, of course. That's basically a double header. We've had the second part of it, which was Zandvoort. And this weekend on the 12th of September, on Sunday, of course, we will be streaming the race again. So don't forget to join us there. Or if you're looking for a commentary stream, or if you're going to be out and about and you won't be able to watch the race or whatever, be sure to join us, where we will be giving you a live commentary stream from the YouTube. So that'll be a bit of crack. We got up to five viewers the other on Sunday, which was good for first ever live stream where we had video footage, and where I also streamed the qualifying. Now, as I said on the broadcast that I wasn't able to really get OBS working. OBS is the open broadcasting software which a lot of streamers seem to use, and you can just kind of like it's like a TV board in a way. Like, you have your stream, you have your broadcast or whatever, and you can like click a button and some music will play, or music that you load into it will play, and video will play on the screen if you have it set up right. So I'm just trying to figure out a couple of gremlins with it. The frame rate seems to be very slow, and I'm not sure if that's like the video coming from the camera to the laptop and then from the laptop into the software, or whether it's causing a delay because of that, or whether that's just not fast enough, that connection, or the app is not right. I don't know. Maybe could be just that the software doesn't really work too well on my laptop because it's not a fantastic laptop. But the specifications for the OBS, I believe, are within my limits, so are within the laptop's limits. So we'll work on it anyway, and I'll try and figure that out. But so I just meant to say that the broadcast might have seemed a little bit basic or whatever if you were watching, because we didn't have any fancy music or layovers or nothing like that. But of course, the importance at the moment, I suppose, when we are streaming, is to give a good level, good quality commentary and stuff like that, because that's what people want when they look, and they don't necessarily want jingles and stuff like that. So the big news today, the big news that is broken today, a couple of minutes, literally a couple of minutes, about 20 minutes before I started recording, is that George Russell has signed for the silver arrows for the Mercedes F1 team. Lewis Hamilton signed a 2-year contract last year, so he's obviously in contract next year. So it will be good to see how they get on and whether Lewis will re-sign for Mercedes. I think, myself included, like, I suppose it is a bit of a strange idea. It probably wouldn't sit right with a lot of people at the moment, but Lewis Hamilton to Ferrari was something that I always thought would happen. It hasn't happened. Obviously, a lot of English drivers in the past, world champions, have gone to Ferrari. Ferrari is the ultimate team. If you have a world championship, if you've 7 world championships, if you've possibly 8, depending on how this season goes, Lewis Hamilton will obviously be accepted in any team that he goes to. However, it seems that it would be unlikely that would happen in this kind of era, because it seems like Charles Leclerc is very much the Ferrari kind of wonder kid or whatever. He's the one that they signed when he was quite young, and they're banking on him, and he's obviously a very talented driver. No, that's obvious about Charles Leclerc. He's a brilliant driver, and he deserves that seat. Some people would have said that he maybe moved a year early, that he could have done with another year in the Sauber or the Alfa Romeo team to cut his teeth more and to get up to a higher level before he went to Ferrari. But he went to Ferrari, he had a baptism of fire, and he adjusted quite well. Also moved in on a world champion there, which some people say Sebastian Vettel was basically forgotten about winning the team, and everybody focused their efforts and their attention on Charles Leclerc, and that he was basically shafted and he was out of contract, so he was put to the sidelines. I suppose there is a little bit of that, and obviously people are going to be excited when a new driver comes in, so you have to think about that as well. There's probably going to be a little bit of favoritism, but I wouldn't say it was as dramatic as people make out, and I'd say that things with Vettel just naturally kind of simmered out the same way they did with Raikkonen and things like that. Raikkonen was with Ferrari for a long time, and he was with Ferrari kind of when they were decent, but at the same time he didn't win a championship since his first championship, since the last championship that Ferrari have had, which is all the way back in 2007. So it's been a long time. I remember it was like 5 years, 6 years after they'd won a championship, and even then people were like, fucking hell, like, when are Ferrari going to win it? Like, it's taken 5 years and they still haven't won a championship. So that just goes to show how long they have been struggling. But so it's taken them a long time to turn things around, and as I said, Leclerc has fitted in quite well there. Carlos Sainz has always fit in right there. So it seems very unlikely in the long run that Lewis Hamilton will go to Ferrari. It doesn't look like he's going to do it, even though that is a very kind of natural move for British world champions to do, is to usually go to Ferrari at some point or another, or even end their careers there. The only two that I can really think have done it is Nigel Mansell and John Surtees. John Surtees was way back in the day, but they still did it. They were British world champions that did that, and Hamilton is obviously also a very successful champion. So George, you would think, is not the type of person to kind of muscle his way into the team and muscle himself, kind of, I suppose, mark his territory over the garage or whatever, and unsettle Hamilton. As well as that, is it hard to unsettle Hamilton? Is Hamilton very confident? I think yes, but I think a thing that's something about Hamilton is, particularly when he's on the radio, people listen to his radio messages and they tend to think that he's complaining, because maybe he sounds a bit like he's whining a bit, he's moaning a bit. But I've watched Lewis Hamilton for a long time, okay? And I can tell you that if Hamilton, in those radio messages where Hamilton's like that, or in those radio messages where he's like, you know, oh, the fucking tires, this is bollocks, and they're so fast, man, they're so fast. That's him trying. That is a 7-time world champion in the fastest car on the grid doing what he has to do in the fastest car on the grid, which is try and win every single race. People give out about Mercedes and the fact that they dominate and F1 is boring. There you go. He's in second place and he's absolutely pushing, while Max Verstappen is also pushing and seemed a little bit more comfortable on Sunday. Seemed like there wasn't too much on the radio about him panicking about things for Max. But Lewis was saying that I can't keep this pace up. I'm not going to be able to keep the tires till the end of the race like this if I have to keep driving this fast just to keep up. So that's Hamilton on the edge, trying his best, and probably getting flung around inside the car, doing a couple of G on the radio, trying to communicate a message on a dodgy enough radio in a very expensive car. And the radios just always seem to be kind of terrible quality, but obviously there's a lot of sound and stuff coming in and around the car. So he's just trying to get this message across, and he's racing flat out. And we've seen that in we've seen it in Hungary. I think was Hungary. Yeah, Hungary, where Hamilton was exhausted because he was trying to catch up to Vettel and Ocon. And like, when is the last time a driver's been that exhausted? It doesn't really happen. Drivers are wrecked, obviously, and you see a lot of people, like, they're just kind of, I suppose they're just dehydrated. Some of them might be on the verge of being dehydrated or whatever, and they need to go and just take in a lot of fluid and chill out for a while, or do an ice bath or whatever they do. But Hamilton was really, really, really exhausted that day, for real. And I know there was talk that he had long-term COVID or whatever, but he was pushing and he was trying in that race too. So he gets into those kind of. Sometimes he does seem like he's complaining, but he is really trying hard in those situations. So you have to cut him a bit of slack for that. So is he? So based on that, based on his radio communications, based on what we see on the paddock, based on what we see when he was getting booed and stuff like that, how it affected him, is that somebody, or going back further, when he was a rookie, when he was a young driver, how he performed? Has he ever lacked confidence? Has he ever backed down? Has he ever had? The thing about Lewis Hamilton is he's never really had a drop in form. You know, he's never really had a long period of time where where things, like, he had to get used to the Mercedes team, and the McLarens were also quite uncompetitive for well, the start of how they became completely uncompetitive through the teen years from 2010 to now. That was like the start of when they just dropped off and they became a kind of a middle road team, and then they had those absolutely horrific years with Fernando Alonso, where if you don't remember this, and you're obviously aware of Formula 2, well, Formula 2 used to be called GP2, and obviously a GP2 car has a GP2 engine, and Fernando was driving down the straight in Japan, okay, where the Honda engine is made for the car that they were driving. He was driving down the straight and he goes, GP2 engine, because everybody was just driving past him and overtaking him, and he was like, this car is like a car down. So yeah, McLaren had a bad phase. So McLaren had that bad phase, and Hamilton was kind of there for a year or two of it. I'd say maybe even a season. There was probably 2 seasons of it, but he still performed very well. And since then, and since getting used to Mercedes and obviously dominating the last 5 or 6 years, he's never really had a dip in form. He's never really been unsettled. He's never kind of not been top dog. He's always kind of been one of the best. He's always been one of the best for sure. He's always been one of the top 3 drivers on the grid since he joined, since he was a rookie, which is unheard of. That's something that people don't get. It's like kind of like Messi in a way, kind of like Ronaldo. Not even Ronaldo, because Ronaldo he doesn't score free kicks anymore, does he? Or he hasn't in ages. But Hamilton's better. He's like the two of them together. He's just that level of sports star where it's such a high level of competition, that F1 is such a mad kind of sport where you drive so fast, and he's just been undeniably one of the all-time greatest since he's joined. So does that sound like a person that's going to be unsettled by a younger British driver coming in? I don't think so. I think personally George Russell is going to be as fast as Bottas for sure, but I think he's going to push Hamilton, because he does that on Saturdays. He does that in the Williams on Saturdays when the car is all set up and he's got really light fuel, so he can go out and just do a lap really quick, and he's got not a lot of fuel in the car, so the car is very light. He's got fresh tires. He's got the car set up to be the fastest that it can be. He goes out and he does a stunning lap, or he usually does a stunning lap, or a stunning lap for the level of the car that the Williams is. So you put him into the Mercedes now. Of course, the regulations are changing next year, and as you know, we have the new car coming and things like that. So it's probably not the best time for him to have joined. Last year would have been key. If he had joined last year and he had this season in this year's car, that would have been something, because it's clearly the best car. It's clearly the second best car on the grid, but very close behind the Red Bull. But next year it's kind of up in the air a bit. However, you would expect Mercedes to give him a very decent, very competitive car, as they've pretty much done for the majority of the years they've been in F1. They had a gradually slightly difficult but relatively short couple of years into F1 where they didn't really get anything and they didn't really do very well. Then they started to get like the odd pole. They started to like qualify high up the grid. They got the odd pole, and then Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton came aboard and started to just take over. So next year's pairing of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell is probably the power pairing of the year, if you want to say it like that, or the power couple of the year, the power teammates. I'd say they're going to be some force to be reckoned with. So it'll be interesting to see if the Mercedes dominance can continue in the new era. But obviously it will be slightly refreshing to see somebody really challenge Hamilton, which I think everybody hopes George is able to do. So, as you know, because you're all smart people, and you're probably already thinking this, George Russell is moving to Mercedes. So what does that mean for Valtteri Bottas? Well, Valtteri Bottas has moved to Alfa Romeo because one Finn is retiring. The great Kimi Räikkönen has called it quits on F1 this year. The Iceman, many fond memories. I can't tell you how much I've loved watching Kimi Räikkönen. Hello and welcome to the F1TV Era helpline. If you're ringing because you're sad about Räikkönen retiring, press 1. You're true to Tim Speed. How can I help you today? Well, Tim, how's it going? I'm just a bit sad about Räikkönen. You know yourself. No, I'm there with you, friend. Don't worry. Of course, we're not doctors here at F1TV Era, but we do have something to recommend to take your mind off things. Oh, all right. Yeah. What's that? There's some Finnish vodka brands available here. We've got Finlandia vodka. I think you might have heard about that. There's also Stoilic Kinana and one called Ezebjerg vodka. I don't know if you've ever heard any of them. Ezebjerg. You know what? I will. And I'll have one now, and I'll stick on the 2007 season review, and I'll enjoy that. Good man yourself. Sorry. Cheers. What's your name? Eamon's my name, Tim. Very nice to meet you. Come here, no bother. I'll talk to you soon. Good luck. Good luck, Eamon. Good luck. Welcome back, folks. Anyway, how's a big thanks again for joining me this week. Tim Speed here at F1TV Era on the F1TV Era podcast. So, of course, Räikkönen has retired, or he will be retiring. There's a lot of different rumours going around on the internet at the moment that Albon had a C-fit at Williams. There's rumours going around that De Vries could be going to Williams. Schumacher, of course, I mentioned on the podcast, is also in line for the other Alfa Romeo seat. As I said, a pairing between Bottas and Mick and Räikkönen would be very good, I think. But I think Mick should go to Alfa Romeo. That would be a good move for him. If he gets as far away from that Alfa or from that Haas team as possible, that Haas car, and gets as far away from Nikita Mazepin, who just seems to be a bit of a gobshite over the last couple of weekends. But Alfa Romeo have a big say in... Ferrari have a big say in Alfa Romeo's seats. They obviously have big influence there. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi, of course, qualified 7th on the grid on Saturday, which was brilliant. I never thought... I was a total doubter. I didn't think he was going to make Q3 at all, even though he was kind of sitting in the dropout zone for a long time in Q1 and Q2, and then he was sitting just in a dangerous position or whatever. But yeah, he did have a couple of good laps. In fairness to him, he was high up the leaderboard for a good while in one or two of the sessions. So was that enough? Was that plus a good finish to the year? When they go to Monza next week, where are they going to be? Where are the Alfa Romeos going to be? Are they going to be classic backmarkers again, or is there any chance that they can salvage something in the fight against Williams in the Constructors' Championship? So if Giovinazzi can lead that and Räikkönen can somehow have a strong finish to the year, maybe there will be some hope in the Giovinazzi ground that he will get re-signed there. Latifi is also so both drivers now are out of contract at Williams, and we know that George is not going to get re-signed by Williams. He's going to Mercedes. So that just leaves that's one free seat for sure. And then people are obviously there's questions about Latifi. Again, a good end of the season will do Latifi leaps and bounds if he can achieve that. But it's pretty doubtful. You would have to kind of on pure ability and like I suppose I suppose in pure ability you would have to put the likes of Raikkonen and Giovinazzi way ahead of Latifi. So that's the crack. Like Alfa Romeo can obviously choose from De Vries and Albon and the likes of Callum Ilott, who's in GP2 or sorry in F2 at the moment. But Williams have a closer relationship with De Vries for sure, and Albon. I'd say if he had obviously if he has the choice, I suppose he'll take either or. If he gets any offer at all, he'll take that. But there is a couple of drivers in the running now for next year's seat because Kimi retired. If Kimi was going to take up a seat, it'd be a different kettle of fish. But he's leaving a seat free, and George has gone to Mercedes. So you would have to say that Albon is kind of in the running to make perhaps a sensational return to F1. Will he be able to do anything? Of course, it's still so up in the air with next year being just such a kind of experimental year and being such a year that's been worked out so much in theory, and there's such drastic changes in theory from what we're seeing in the sport now to what we will see in 2022. So it's going to be very, very exciting to see how that translates onto into real life racing. Of course, Albon's cut his teeth elsewhere in the racing world. He won a DTM race. He qualified on pole, which I said earlier a couple of weeks ago is not to take away from. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but it'll definitely do massive confidence for him that he was able to turn up and get the job done as a top level driver, who has experience in F1 and is looking to get back into F1. Of course, he's still very young, so the likes of Pierre Gasly and Tsunoda, it was announced during the podcast as I was recording it that they've been resigned for AlphaTauri. And I like the way AlphaTauri is slightly different and it's slightly more independent from Red Bull now. Of course, it's still the Red Bull junior team in a lot of ways. And ideally, I suppose, Pierre would have been looking to get into the Red Bull, would have been looking to get into the top team, who are his current employers at the moment. But I honestly think it would be better for him to stay away from Red Bull because him and Christian Horner don't exactly have the best relationship. And Christian Horner is a bit of a, I mentioned how, like, Christian Horner is just a little bit, if Christian Horner doesn't like it, he doesn't like it. That's really kind of who he is. And he used to be kind of a warm, kind of cuddly guy, and he was pure happy. And he was, they were a massive underdog team when he took charge. But they've come a long way, and they're like top dogs now, massively. They won 4 in a row with Sebastian Vettel. So for Christian Horner, if he doesn't like it, if you don't cut the absolute top, if you don't make it on that top end of the scale, above that limit all the time, if you crash out, for example, it's real obvious that he doesn't like when Pierre does that. He didn't like when Pierre did that, and he had the same kind of relationship with Albon. So I think it would be better for him to stay away because I think that ship has sailed at Red Bull for Pierre Gasly. But the AlphaTauri car is competitive, and hopefully that competitiveness will continue. And if they can improve it, you never know. If they can improve that car, it could be It could be a top 5 team. That's what we want next year. We don't want a front team and then 2 kind of backup teams and then the middle of the field. We want 5 or 6 teams constantly batting it out at the front. Obviously, there's probably going to be some back markers. There's obviously going to be some drivers that are still struggling with the cars they're in, or changing of cars, or they're just still getting used to F1. But hopefully there'll be quite a few teams and quite a few drivers battling it out at the front. And as we had kind of a slightly boring race in Zandvoort, we look forward to and then obviously we had a very boring weekend. Well, we had an exciting Saturday, but we had a boring race day even though it looked like everybody was in high spirits. We didn't get to race in Belgium. With Monza, we had a very exciting race last year, so hopefully Monza will be a repeat of last year, and it can add a little bit of spice into this season. But we have had quite a dramatic season so far, obviously. But it would be great to see some more great races. Hopefully a repeat of Monza last year, something like that. And see an underdog team getting to the front. Well, folks, thank you very much for staying with me again this far. If you did today, I appreciate it a lot. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please or go maybe check out Spotify if you like. There's a couple of other podcasts up there that you might be interested in. If you're listening to this on Spotify, thanks a million. And of course, I'll be streaming the race this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. F1TV Era. My name is Tim Speed. This is the F1TV Era podcast. Join us on Saturday, folks. Have a good one.